On the 1st of August 2020, the BBC made an announcement that TV licences would no longer be free for over 75s unless they received pension credit. I explained in my previous videos the circumstances in which you are required to pay for a TV licence and what might happen when you don't, such as agents visiting and sending you letters and so on. So those videos are linked below. And it's this change in the rules that I'm talking about today. But if you are new to me and my channel, I'm a barrister who helps you understand law, so please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you receive notifications of new videos. And I do live streams on Sundays taking your questions, and I answer more of your questions over on my sister channel at Black Belt Secrets, also linked below in the description. So as I said, the BBC made an announcement which changed the rules for TV licensing, meaning that over 75s will now have to pay for a TV license unless they receive pension credit. But even then, they won't get a TV license for free automatically. They will need to make an application. There was an extended transition period during which they would not need to pay for the license, but that ended yesterday, at the end of July. So from the 1st of August, from yesterday, from the date of recording, over 75s will need to pay for a TV license. I have heard and read many different thoughts and comments on this very subject, and generally I try to remain neutral on this channel, occasionally offering a view that I accept that not everybody will agree with. Some people have commented that it's only fair that everybody that requires a TV license pays for a TV license, regardless of their age. Other comments have suggested that people that are over 75 and have paid national insurance contributions for so many years deserve that little bit of something for free, such as a TV license. In its announcement, however, the BBC said as follows: "In line with general policy, anyone who watches or records live TV programmes on any channel or downloads or watches BBC programmes on BBC iPlayer must be covered by a valid TV license." For those of you that stand in favour of the TV license, of course, there's no issue. You just continue to pay your TV license if you need one and encourage others to do so. For those of you that are against the TV license, there are several groups, campaigners if you will, that stand against the TV license and make the voices known and the views known as to the reasons why the TV license should perhaps be abolished. Silver Voices is one such group that has campaigned against these changes that I'm talking about today, stating that there's a significant group of over 75s that are either unwilling or, more importantly, unable to pay for a TV license. Dennis Reed of Silver Voices comments as follows: "Is the BBC going to fine and potentially take to court hundreds of thousands of senior citizens who are standing out against the scrapping of this welfare benefit? We have had massive political and media support for a rethink on this issue, and the government now needs to intervene urgently to force a solution." Now, you may think of my video here as media support, but I do encourage you always to consider both sides of the argument. On the one hand, the TV licensing website outlines what your TV licensing fees are used to pay for. They include national TV channels plus regional TV services, radio stations, the BBC website, BBC iPlayer, BBC Sounds, the BBC World Service, and some other apps and online services. So you may very well think that the TV license is good value for money when you think that it supports all of these services and brings to you what the BBC and these other channels have to offer. On the other hand, I understand from many of you, certainly from what's left in the comments, that you don't wish to support the BBC any longer, that they should seek some kind of subscription service or some other kind of voluntary payment service rather than criminalising non-payment of a TV license where it is due. But following a fairly in-depth review, the TV license fees as they stand are certainly going to be guaranteed at least until the end of the year 2027. Now, from my point of view, this is very much a twofold discussion. First of all, the comparison between the TV license and other TV subscription services. Some people saying that Virgin services or Sky services and so on should include the TV license because, after all, you are paying a monthly fee which, by comparison, dwarfs the amount due under a TV license. In addition to that, of course, you have Netflix and Amazon Prime and other subscription services which, if you are paying for, the train of thought is, why should you also pay for a separate license when you are already paying for these subscription services, when it is the company providing that subscription service that is effectively doing all of the work and providing all of the infrastructure to provide those programs to you in the first place. This, of course, pitted against the argument that the TV license funds all of the services that I've outlined earlier in this video. The second part of the discussion is obviously the fact that non-payment of a TV license where it is due is still a criminal offence, albeit it is dealt with in the magistrates court, as my previous video suggests from reporting that the average fine is £170 or so, and this is spent within 12 months in any event, and is a non-recordable offence, so you don't need to disclose this unless you are required to disclose all criminal convictions, including those that are non-recordable, which does apply to certain job positions. So as it currently stands, non-payment of a TV licence where it is due is very much akin to speeding and receiving a fine for things like that. But nonetheless, and in any event, being prosecuted for anything at all, even if it's limited to the magistrates court and you can plead guilty by post, is a very stressful event for anyone of any age, and many people have commented that over 75s should not be subjected to criminal proceedings for something such as non-payment of a TV licence. But as always on this channel, I like to look a little bit deeper at the situation than just what the surface facts and law are about. By way of example, if we take someone who is over 75, doesn't receive pension credit and therefore is required to pay for a TV licence, but is on such little income that they simply cannot justify or cannot afford to pay for the TV licence, and therefore chooses not to pay it or simply cannot pay it with the other expenditure that they have. In this case, the person may well be prosecuted and fined, and even if that fine is in the average of a couple of £100 or so, it could well be up to £1,000, depending on the level of evasion of the TV licence, and perhaps other prevailing circumstances. But in any event, if they are fined for not paying for the TV licence, and considering that they may not have paid it in the first place because they could not afford to pay it, this is perhaps the making of a very sad situation. For example, if you have someone over 75 who spends most of the time watching television because that is their enjoyment, but cannot afford a TV licence and then is prosecuted and fined for not having a TV licence, they may well then be left with a fine that they cannot afford to pay, and non-payment of a fine is a more serious offence than not paying for the TV licence in the first place. Accordingly, a very valid train of thought to follow this particular set of circumstances is that you may well have over 75s that have not paid the TV licence because they can't afford it, being fined for watching TV because they didn't have a TV licence, cannot pay the fine, and then are at risk of going to prison for not paying the fine for not paying their TV licence. Now, whilst imprisonment will usually be reserved to those who will not or simply refuse to pay the fine following such an event, and if you cannot pay, it may amount to a reasonable excuse for not paying. But this is doubtless a very stressful situation for anybody to be in of any age, but particularly those that are over age 75 and may well be vulnerable or find things difficult to deal with by themselves. If you are in this situation yourself and you're over 75 and you simply cannot pay the fine, having been convicted of non-payment of a TV licence where one was required, I strongly urge you to make contact with the fines officer as soon as possible and make your situation very clear. Because if you don't say what your situation is, then no one will know that you are not in a position to pay the fine in the first place. The worst thing anyone can do in such a situation is simply to ignore it out of fear or hoping that it goes away, because ignoring things tends to make things very much more difficult and very much worse for you in the long run. You may very well find lawyers such as myself, if they have capacity and time available to assist you with such matters, to speak to the fines officer on a pro bono basis, which means you don't need to pay the lawyer. Many lawyers, including many barristers such as myself, will do lots of work on a pro bono basis, where the particular circumstances of the situation clearly call for such assistance, but you may not be in a position to pay a lawyer for it. So overall, this video really is to serve three separate purposes. The first is to make you all aware that there is a change in this law, that over 75s are now required to purchase a TV licence as of yesterday, unless you are on pension credit, in which case you still need to make an application. Secondly is to invite discussion, and I've given you both sides of the situation. On the one hand, there are services that TV licence pays for. On the other hand, there are various arguments as to why you should not need to pay a TV licence anymore. But thirdly, and most importantly, whatever age you are, if you are facing the situation where you are being prosecuted either for non-payment of the TV licence or worse still, non-payment of a fine for non-payment of a TV licence, then I urge you very strongly not to sit silent on the letters that you receive or summons that you receive, and to please speak up and make your situation known. If you are in the position that you simply cannot pay the licence or you cannot pay the fine, you need to make your position very clear. Because if you don't make your position clear, then no one will know, including the fines officer in the court, whether you are in the position that you simply cannot pay this fine or license in the first place. So as I said earlier, if you are unsure as to the circumstances where you are required to pay for a TV license, you can see my previous videos, but also please do refer to the official guidance from the TV licensing website and the legislation to be absolutely sure. And as always, this video cannot and must not be taken as formal legal advice, but it is my service to you on this channel to try to outline the law so that it can be understood by many more people. And today I have a special thanks to every single one of you that has subscribed, because this video marks, I think, the last video before this channel hits 50,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. I am so grateful. I am so humbled by all of your support. So thank you for watching, and to all of you, stay humble and subscribe.